We have John Solomon from The Hill is with us, Fox News legal analyst, author of the #1 bestseller, The Russia Hoax, now out in paperback. Gregg Jarrett is with us. I think they're lying.
Oh, yeah.
You can't verify something. They purposely withheld who paid for it. That's true. They also can't verify something whose own author denounces his own work.
Right. I mean, he actually says in court records that the document is unverifiable. And we know that to be true because Comey admitted they never verified it. And so when you listen to that soundbite you just played of Andrew McCabe with NPR saying, oh, you know, this was the most forthcoming and honest document, FISA application I've ever seen. That is just preposterous. Almost nothing that comes out of the mouth of Andrew McCabe bears any semblance to honesty or the truth. You're right. They did not tell the court the salient facts, that Hillary Clinton had commissioned it, that Christopher Steele, who composed it, had lied and leaked. But most of all, they didn't even follow their own procedures. The regulations on special counsel as well as the FISA court are very specific. You may never submit unverified information. They did precisely that, lying to the court and deceiving the judges.
It is interesting that we learned Christopher Steele, who authored this phony Russian dossier that Hillary paid for by funneling money through the law firm and then Fusion GPS, apparently was scheduled to appear at a pro-democracy conference in Baltimore next week, and that planned appearance by video would have been Steele's first public appearance since the dossier was published, nor will he apparently speak before any congressional committee. John Solomon.
Yeah, no, I don't, unless Lindsey Graham goes full bore and tries to get him to comply with a subpoena overseas, which is very hard to enforce. We may not hear Christopher Steele in an environment where he can be questioned honestly, and I think that he is going to go down as one of the great enigmas of a lot of FBI misconduct. It's obvious what his motives were. It's obvious who his employer was. These things, as Greg so eloquently described, were kept from the court. But there's another thing that we don't talk about a lot yet, but I suspect we will very soon, and I'm working on something on this in the near future. There's another thing that the FBI overtly kept from the court, and that was exculpatory information, not derogatory information about the source against Steele, which they clearly had to disclose, and they didn't. But what if, and I have strong reason to believe that Carter Page and George Papadopoulos were intercepted by FBI informants and recorded, and we've heard members of Congress talk about these transcripts nebulously. What if in the course of those conversations, and I believe this has absolutely happened, they said exculpatory things like, I didn't meet with those Russians. That's not what we did. We didn't change the Ukraine platform because of Russia or any of those things. And those don't get put into the FISA warrant. When you add that to what we already know about the omissions about Steele, you start to see a criminal element to how they tailored this FISA. They left everything exculpatory, everything derogatory about their sources out to try to railroad through a FISA warrant. And I think Andrew McCabe's words that this was a thorough process will be laid bare when these declassification documents come out, and we see how much.
I mean, what other option does he have at this point to say, well, we were confident, we did our work on this, because then otherwise he would admit that he was just going along with something that is now proven to be false. And that would mean that it was look, at the end of the day, there's no doubt in my mind, and I'll ask both of you, this was a purposeful, conscious fraud on the court. They knew what they were doing. They didn't care. They knew they were lying to the FISA court judges. They knew they were omitting certain things that were pertinent, that would have impacted the decision of the judges. There's no doubt about that in my mind, Greg.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And the great tragedy is that there are, on average, per week, 29 FISA applications presented to one judge. So they can't possibly, that judge that rotates in a new one every week, can't possibly hold 29 hearings. So what they do is they take the vast majority of them, this one in particular, on paper submissions. That means they are trusting the veracity, the honesty of the FBI and the Department of Justice when they present it. And it requires a very discerning judge to look at that footnote number 8 that obliquely refers to an opposition party or candidate presenting, some of this evidence. You would have to be clairvoyant to understand that that was Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. But since there's no adversary in this secret court, this star chamber, they simply accepted it.
Well, we have two developments on that point. Number one, the Attorney General, Barr, the new Attorney General, has refused to recuse himself from the investigation. He has no intention whatsoever, thankfully. And Devin Nunes is urging the new Attorney General. All of us want to see equal justice under the law. He says, I believe that if the new Attorney General and the Department of Justice don't take all of this on, if they don't do a full scrub, have full accountability and transparency for the American people, you're going to see generations of conservatives who will not trust the Department of Justice. They will not trust the FBI, and they for sure will not trust the FISA process. I don't want to gloss over it because it's important. The FISA laws were first written in the 70s. They need to be completely rewritten because of what the Clinton campaign and former people at the DOJ and FBI were able to do. Well, what's going to happen with William Barr? And I know that you have some sources inside of Mueller's camp. What's going to happen with the Mueller report? When's it going to be released? And do you think we'll ever see the light of day? Will it see the light of day, John Solomon?
I think a summary of it, of the key important decisions that were made, will be made available by General Barr to the Congress, as he has indicated he would. I don't think the full report will ever see the light of day. I think there's a possibility the president could claim executive privilege over it. I think the Democrats may even be disappointed with what's in the full report, which is there's just not my understanding is this report is going to be fairly sparse. It's not going to be a multi-volume narrative of what they thought should or should not have been proven. I think what you've heard from the people in the know, Rod Rosenstein recently, General Barr, I just saw one of the Trump attorneys, former Ty Cobb, talking. Everybody expects Bob Mueller to be rather narrow in his view. I charge these people because X, and I didn't charge these people, and I'm done, and see you later. If that becomes the record that Bob Mueller leaves behind, Democrats are going to be very angry.
Well, apparently that's what they're expecting, though. Isn't that why we now see, a shift in strategy away from?
You can see it.
Yeah, and now they just want to
rewrite them. They want to rewrite the Mueller report and put their own twist on history here. And that's, 2 years ago they were cheering Bob Mueller on. Well, now he looked at the facts. He may have come to the conclusion that we all predicted he would come to. So
you don't expect even the innuendo about Donald Trump that, well, maybe he shouldn't have fired Comey, or maybe he shouldn't have said, I hope General Flynn doesn't get in trouble, or something like that.
I think you look at I think the most instructive comments made in the last week were those of Rod Rosenstein, where he said that in the Justice Department, we don't talk about things we don't do. And I think that was a clear signal from the Deputy Attorney General who oversaw this investigation that this report is unlikely to do.
But what about these people? Shouldn't they be worried now? Because we do have evidence that they committed a fraud on a FISA court. We have more evidence, as a matter of fact, that they rigged the investigation into Hillary. General Counsel under Comey, James Baker, wanted to indict Hillary for violating the Espionage Act, which was something we all talked about.
And that's information that will come out once the witnesses who testified behind closed doors, once the transcripts like Baker's that you just mentioned become public.
Wait, we'll pick it up there, where this part of the investigation is going to go. More with Gregg Jarrett, John Solomon, as we continue the Sean Hannity Show. All right, as we continue, Gregg Jarrett, John Solomon, Hannity Watch on our deep state, a lot of development. So assuming everybody that is on the left that we're expecting these big things, as it relates to the Mueller report, assuming that it doesn't come out the way they want, then I guess the next step for them is what we see Nadler doing and 8 other House committees doing. They're basically have cast the widest net of investigations I've ever seen in my life in the hopes that they'll find something that sticks and some reason that they can remain on this obsessive-compulsive path of destroying Donald Trump and not serving the country.
The Russia hoax begat the witch hunt, and now since that part of the witch hunt appears to have failed, both with the House and the Senate Intelligence Committees, and apparently not much with Robert Mueller in terms of collusion. Now a new avenue of the witch hunt is being launched, this time by the likes of Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler and Elijah Cummings. Nadler in particular.
When are we going to investigate Adam Schiff? Because he's on tape coordinating with people that he thinks are Russians to get dirt on Trump. But, all right, I got to thank you both, John Solomon and Gregg Jarrett. Thank you.